apparently Skimbleshanks is a liar. If you've ever wondered what it looks like when a cat has a stroke, you should have seen that production. So evidently my grandma thought I was Jenny Anydots for the whole show. Hello, welcome to Bored and Confused. Today is story time. Cats the Jellicle Ball is closing on Broadway very soon, and when I did my rave review of the show, I mentioned that I had done a professional production of Cats, and people had asked me to talk more about that experience and about my love-hate relationship with cats. So that is what I'm doing today. We can call this Jellicle Songs for Jellicle Matt. All right, Act 1, my first experience with cats. I was a kid living in Houston, and my mother took me to the music hall to see the touring production of Cats the Musical. I remember the cats crawling around us at the beginning of the opening of the show, and then going up onto the stage and singing and dancing, and then they got to the naming of cats. And that's when I don't remember anything else because I fell fast asleep and did not wake up until I was home in my bed, and I woke up in a cold sweat. Cats! Having a nightmare about bloodthirsty cats crawling around the theater. Act 2, University. So I went to Brigham Young University and I studied graphic design, but when I was in high school and junior high, I was in a show choir and I did a lot of singing and dancing and really loved doing theater. So there was a musical dance theater program at Brigham Young University, and I would often participate in their productions and other opportunities to perform. And there was a class for the musical dance theater students where they would be assigned a show and they had to do a 60-minute version of that show for the class. And I would often be asked to perform in these showcases. In fact, the joke was that Matt was a closeted MDT major. There's more truth to that than you could imagine. So I got to do shows like Godspell. I got to play the engineer in Miss Saigon, which will never happen again. And I got to do Cats. Now, I was asked by one of my friends to play the Rum Tum Tugger in Cats, and by this point I was familiar with the show because it had been recorded and I was on PBS, I believe, and I had seen it. It's the one where Mr. Mistopheles explodes into a burst of glitter at the end, something that I always wondered how they made him do that at the end of the show, just exploding cat. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'd love to do that part. But as we got into rehearsals, they realized that the MDT major who was playing Mr. Mistopheles, 5'4" tall guy, perfect for Mistopheles, but didn't quite have the dance skills to play that role. So they said, hey Matt, will you play Mistopheles instead? And he's gonna play Rum Tum Tugger. And I said, feels like a downgrade, but tell you what, if you let me still sing my song, because Rum Tum Tugger gets to sing Mr. Mistopheles' song, because these are all poems, and they can be sung either by the cat they're about or the other cat singing about that cat. Well, I'm a singer-dancer, and I wanted to sing my own song. So they were like, all right, Matt, you can sing your own song. So I sang, my manner is vague and aloof. You would think there was nobody shyer, but my voice has been heard on the roof when I was curled up by the fire. Anyhow, you get the idea. And then I would go into my dance, which mainly consisted of PK turns, which I was excellent at. And they'd given me a bunch of these little snappers. It's like that little gunpowder in little pieces of paper. It's not gunpowder, but it explodes. You throw it on the ground, it snaps. So I go PK, PK, take one out of my pocket, snap, wake the audience up. PK, PK, throw a snapper, wake the audience up. And that was my Mr. Mistopheles. I was amazing. If only there were video. Thank God there's not video, because that would go viral for all the wrong reasons. And yet I kind of wish there was one. Anyhow, so that was my first experience performing Cats in the university. Act 3. I now live in New York City. I left the graphic design behind and I'm pursuing being an actor, musical theater primarily. I want to be on Broadway. But a lot of that is just auditioning for regional productions. Now, my grandma, who lives in the Midwest, is getting up there in years. And because I didn't grow up in the same city as her, she really had never seen me perform live before. So there were 2 theaters near where she lived that I was keeping an eye on because I was thinking it'd be great if I could perform at those theaters. And one of these theaters was doing Cats. And so I thought, well, let me audition for Cats. And here's something I learned about Cats. I never knew this before. Most people don't. Cats isn't just cats. There are cats and there are kittens. So if you're a male and you're 5'8" and under, you are a kitten. If you're 5'10" and up, you are a cat. And if you're 5'9" tall, you are Skimbleshanks, because he's like a full-grown cat, but on the smaller side. And he gets to sing and dance. So it was actually really the right role for me. So I accepted it. I was like, I'm gonna go dance for grandma. We're gonna do cats. We're gonna do it one time, get it done with. So we all arrived there. A lot of the cast were people who had done cats before. We're all sitting there for the first rehearsal. The designers, the actors, everyone involved with the production is there, and the director gets up and he tells us that this is his first time directing. Great. And that he was in the Broadway production of Cats. And he says he wants to do his own thing with it. And I'm like, great, let's change this up. Let's make Cats cool. And the scenic designers were like, yeah, this is great. We have this idea. We just want to do like Goodyear tires, giant tires filling the whole stage. And the director was like, great, I love that idea. Let's do it. And then as each day progressed, it was interesting to watch him go back to the scenic designers and say, you know what, I love your idea of the tires, but could we also have like the back of a car? And they'd be like, okay. And then the next day he'd be like, could we also get like a grandfather clock? And they're like, all right. And little by little, he just turned the scenic design into what was on Broadway. So finally we get to the day when I get to rehearse Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat. So excited. I have all these ideas of how I'm going to make this my own. So my approach to this is that Skimbleshanks runs the Northern Railroad up to Scotland, and he is on time. He's ready to go. He's full of energy. He's had 6 cups of coffee every morning, and he's just like, let's get going. So my feeling was I just wanted to be like Wired and be like the really energetic cat who just had a Red Bull. And so he says, okay, great, Skimbleshanks, you're going to start here and you're going to be fast asleep. And I was like, oh, I had this idea that I'd actually be really hopped up on caffeine. And he was like, well, that's a great idea. But you see, the issue is that a lot of this audience will have seen the recorded performance of Cats on PBS, and they're going to be expecting Skimbleshanks to be asleep. And if he's not asleep, they're going to be disappointed. And it was at this point I realized, oh, we're not doing a new version of Cats. We're just replicating exactly what was on Broadway. So let go of my brilliant idea and was asleep, and then woke up. And then at 11:42 with the signal overdue, and the passengers all frantic to a man, that's when I would appear and I'd saunter to the rear. I was busy in the luggage van. I don't know how busy I was. Apparently I was asleep. Apparently Skimbleshanks is a liar. So the one change he did make, which was a little confusing to me, because I told you there's cats and there's kittens, but he cast a syllabub. Syllabub is one of the kittens who sings the beginning of Memory, and she's the first one to reach out and touch Grisabella. And he cast Syllabub as a 9-year-old girl from the community. So we had the cats and the kittens, and then we had whatever that was, which I guess was like a cat fetus, or like the runt of the litter. Like, I don't know, maybe they're saving her to dissect in junior high biology class. Anyhow, she had a lovely, sweet little voice, and she sang the beginning of Memory, and it was lovely. I just didn't understand what this miniature cat was doing there. And she didn't have to dance. So anyhow, so Grisabella's singing her song, Memory, and one by one the cats turn around and go, oh. And the director said to me, all right, Matt, why don't you turn around first? And I was like, oh gosh, every night I'm gonna have to turn around and emote. Oh. And I was like, I know, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. So I said to the director, I said, you know, I've been thinking, I think that Skimbleshanks has really been harmed by Grisabella. And I don't think he's quite ready to forgive her. And he was like, oh, that's so good. Okay. Yeah, Skimbleshanks, I won't have you turn around till towards the end. I went, thank you, that really helps. And he had someone else turn around. So that time it actually worked. And I didn't have to act until the very final, touch me. Then I would be like, oh, tears. Speaking of tears, let's talk about face paint for cats. It is first dress rehearsal of Cats. And they've rented the costume and the wigs, and they've bought makeup for us. And we all come into the dressing room, getting ready to put our faces on. The makeup designer has drawn an illustration of how we're supposed to paint our faces. And we come in, and those who had done the show before looked at the makeup and they said, "This is water-based makeup. We usually use oil-based makeup." And the producers were like, "The water-based was cheaper, that's why we went with it. It'll be fine, just use it." And they were like, okay. Because the issue with water-based makeup is that dancers sweat. And when you use water-based makeup, the makeup does not stay in place. And so for that dress rehearsal of Cats with an invited audience, if you've ever wondered what it looks like when a cat has a stroke, you should have seen that production, because it looked like all of the cats were having strokes. One side or both sides of their faces were melting down into their collars. It was grotesque. I remember there was a little girl on the front row just gripping her mother's arm, looking terrified as these gruesome melting cats got close to her and sang about Macavity, the mystery cat. So everyone's faces were sweating off with the exception of one person, and that was me. Because I don't want to say I'm a lazy performer, but I'm very conservative with my energy, and I'm just not a big sweater. So the show ended and all the cats were melting except for me, and the producers came back and they were like, "Matt, what did you do to keep your makeup from melting?" And I said, I just didn't sweat. I took it easy. And they were like, "Oh." And they realized they had messed up. So wasted all that money. They bought oil-based makeup. We had to wait a couple days before this makeup was delivered. So we had about 3 performances of melting kitties. I wish we had photos of that because it was truly terrifying. So finally we got the oil-based makeup. It all came together. The show was actually really beautiful. It was a carbon copy of what was done on Broadway, with the exception of the runt of the litter, which kind of makes sense that the runt would feel bad for Grisabella. And so my grandma came to see Cats. Now this was after we had stopped melting, but we're dressed up like cats. And my mother had come up from Houston and she'd driven my grandma, and they come to the theater together. And my grandma was having trouble telling which cat I was. So my mother whispered to her, "He's the one in the orange." And my grandma was like, "Okay." So grandma saw the whole show, danced for grandma. After the show, I met with my grandma and she was like, "I loved seeing you perform. I did not know you were such a good tap dancer." And I thought, that's interesting because Skimbleshanks doesn't tap dance. But who does tap dance is Jenny Anydots, who also wears an orange leotard, but has breasts. So evidently my grandma thought I was Jenny Anydots for the whole show. So that's what I get for coming out to dance for grandma. So, and you know, the director is actually a sweetheart and a very nice guy. And actually at the end of the production, he came to me and he said, "You know, I really like your energy on stage. Next time I do Cats, I'd love to see you as Rum Tum Tugger." And maybe because Rum Tum Tugger is very laid back. And I was very laid back. And I was like, "That's great, call my agent." And I never did Cats again. I don't know if he ever called. I don't know if he ever directed another production. But my agent would try to submit me for Cats, and I'd be like, you don't need to do that, because once was enough. I don't need to do it again. That show is hard on your body. And people don't realize this, but you have to warm up your body. Then you have to paint your face, and then you have to warm up again because your body has gotten cold while you were painting your face. And so I would have to get there an hour and 15 minutes before curtain just to get ready for this. Then you're on your knees for the entire show, squatting down. And afterwards, I would just have ice packs on my knees. And my body was like, we can't do this. On Broadway, I don't know how these people who did it for years and years managed to do it. I guess their bodies just got used to it. So that is my story of Cats. Let me know in the comments below if you like story time, and I can do more of these. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with you soon with another Off-Broadway review. Until then, if you go see a show, I hope you won't be bored, and I hope you won't be confused. Bye.
It was very pleasant when they found the little tent with the name written up on the door. And the door was every to the new not a speck of dust upon the floor. There was every sort of light, you could make it dark or bright, and a button you could turn to make it free. And a funny little basin you're supposed to wash your face in, and a great to shut the window should you sneeze. Then the guard looked in politely and would ask you very brightly, do you like your morning tea? But I was right behind him and was ready to remind him, but Skimble won't let anything go